So I want to talk about this beautiful calling that so many of us have around being of service, around living a life where we get to show up for other people, show up for nature, carry sacred plant medicines. And it's such a beautiful calling. I think it's an aspect of consciousness that is incredibly inspiring, in that it seems to me that the more that we heal ourselves, the more we want to pay that forward. That there's this burning desire for everyone to experience unity and healing and joy and connections that come from love. It's an aspect of consciousness that makes me feel unequivocally confident that consciousness comes from love. That the more that we wake up, the more we want to help others do the same. So, absolutely beautiful that so many of us have this calling. But it's tricky because I witness many people deeply want to live a path of service, but they haven't yet been in service to themselves. And so what we see is a lot of people signing up to carry plant medicines and facilitate ceremonies and to be coaches and therapists and doctors and all of these things that represent a life of service. But if it's coming from a vibration of somebody who hasn't made their own healing a priority, what they're perpetuating, whether they mean to or not, is anxiety, disconnection, fear, all of the things that we want to help others heal. If we don't heal that for ourselves, we're just spreading the contagion of fear and sadness. It does not matter how well-meaning we are. Just because we deeply care about humanity, if we haven't made that a priority to ourselves, we're still spreading that contagion. So the irony is, when we commit to being in service or living a life in service, it always has to be a commitment to ourselves first and foremost, or we're hypocrites. How often have you encountered this in the spiritual space of people, however well-meaning, however wise, full of beautiful wisdom, but you can feel this piece of sadness, anger, disconnection that maybe they haven't made peace with themselves. Now, I'm not suggesting that someone, in order to be of service, needs to be free of all of these emotions. They need to be in integrity, and they need to give themselves permission. I live a life of service, and I have tons of rage, and I have deep dives into sadness, but it's not about having that fixed in order for me to be in integrity with helping others. It's about supporting myself and celebrating that those aspects of my consciousness are permitted and they're equally sacred. It's the people that we encounter that still haven't given themselves permission to be in the whole spectrum of this journey, and that they're egoically connected or attached to being of service. And that's a really tricky thing, because it comes from the sweetest place, and it comes in all forms in terms of medicine carriers and therapists, etc. But if it's not coming from a genuine place of self-love, we're back to perpetuating something other than what we're trying to help other people achieve. So the myths of being of service is not really about being of service to other people. It's about being of service to ourselves and inspiring other people to do the same. We cannot be hypocrites, all of us who are stepping forth to help raise the vibration of this planet, if we are not making ourselves the priority every single day in every single way that we are capable of. We are out of integrity if we're trying to support anybody else from doing the same. So let's stop the self-sacrificing martyrdom that is so prevalent in our culture of, oh, I'll help everyone else because I'm last on my own list. That is not the integrity of love that we want to share. I had massive martyrdom issues when I started out on this path. I was still incredibly self-abusive and trying to put it off that I was in some sort of healed space and had the audacity to think I could help others do that. It's not that I didn't have wisdom to share, that it just wasn't coming from an authentic place. And so the trap of being of service without having cracked the code of self-love means that we are engaging in self-betrayal. and that we're hypocritical to the people that we're trying to help. So my call to action today is to have all of us put ourselves first. I asked ayahuasca once, what does utopia look like? Really, what does that look like? And she said, a world where everyone loves themselves. I think that's pretty fucking profound, is to recognize that the world that we really, really want to create has to come from a place where each of us are falling madly in love with who we are, because then that's the energy that we send out into the world. And yet there's so much of the reverse of all of us wanting to help each other when we're the ones that need to help. And we really, you know, when we sit with plant medicines, we start to realize the only person that can heal us is us. And we've given our power away so often to doctors and shamans and therapists, etc. And it's not that we can't support each other along the way. We just can't do it for anyone other than ourselves. So if we make that the priority, and we get to a place where it's like, ooh, this is embodied, not perfect, but ooh, I love myself, and I'm just deepening that, then we are in a vibration where we can inspire others to do the same. No amount of intellectual wisdom in the world is enough to really genuinely express self-love. It has to be felt. So if you are in a calling to be of service, wherever you're at in that path, keep putting yourselves first. And really, if I had to list the order, if you're a medicine carrier, if you're involved in any of these like beautiful plant medicine spaces, the order in which, at least for me, the priorities are in being of service is number one, myself. Number two, the plants that I carry, always deepening the relationship with them. And last on the list is other people. And quite often that is flipped for people. It's all about that external wanting to help, which is an egoic attachment. And if it's not the other way around, one, yourself, two, the plants, three, other people, then there's just all kinds of difficult like repercussions of that, the guru syndrome and pedestals and like giving away what little life force we have to other people when we need it to heal ourselves. You ever notice that people in these roles of healers, plant medicine, ceremonialists, etc., they are often the ones who get really sick, really depressed. They go down because they stop putting themselves first, and they're around, you know, all of us doing this work, we're around the suffering of the world all the time. And if we aren't just developing a relationship of love and trust in that process, and first and foremost protecting ourselves, it's contagious. And that's why it has to be something we continue to do, that we don't just make a priority for a period of time and then let it go. Because doing this work and being surrounded by suffering all the time, it means that we never need to give up the game of protecting and loving ourselves. Because the moment that we do, the door opens and that darkness, that pain can zip right on in. So make yourselves the priority, plain and simple. As simple as it sounds, it's really hard to do because we live in a culture where we're programmed to do just the opposite, to be martyrs, to be self-sacrificial. And who knows where that came from? All I know is that consciousness developed that polarity to get us back into the awareness of what is most important. And that is our own well-being and our own happiness and our own self-love. And then we have so much love to give to everyone else. Thank you as always for listening. Next week, I'm going to demystify the notion of surrender, what it means to surrender, how we access that place of surrender. There's a lot of misunderstanding about the experience of surrender. So we're going to talk about that next week. Between now and then, I invite you all to love on yourselves, take care of yourselves, and thank you for showing up today. Much love. See you next time.